I'm sure you guys all just enjoyed that very fancy intro that I'm definitely sure I've probably done. Welcome to Series 2, Season 2 of Jilp Vondle, the Rimworld Hardcore Survival Series. So, there are a lot of changes from last season, but for those of you who didn't see that first time around, we are playing as Jilp Vondle, a naked man who's going to be dropped on a planet somewhere completely randomly, and we're playing with a load of mods to ideally make the game way more challenging. We're also going to be starting on much higher difficulty this time around, and it's all about keep trying. Like I said last time, and I do still like this metaphor for it, we are playing a sort of Rimworld roguelike experience, whereby when we die, we're just going to come straight back into things with a new character on a new world, and we're just going to keep trying, and every time we die, we move up the numbers. So we're currently on Jilp number 8, this is the 8th attempt to try and escape from the planet, but I've changed some mods around. I've changed a lot of the core mods that were from the last series, I've added in some new ones and some small changes. A lot of it's going to be the same. For those of you interested in what's different and how to set this up for yourself, at the end of the video I'll do a full technical breakdown of the new mods we've got installed, the load order, and how to set it up for yourself. So we'll take a look at that over there. So one thing I've done that some people might actually be interested here is in the scenario editor in the Steam Workshop, I've basically made what I think would be a default Jilp, like a good starting experience here. So starting player characters have a 100% chance to start with decent learner, strong constitution, crypto sleep sickness to cancel out any sort of we're missing certain mods that made the early game a lot harder, so to try and balance that, started with Crypto Sleep to make things, again, have a little more challenge there. All characters start naked. Classic. Right, so let's dive straight in. Let's go for Cassandra, Savage, and Commitment Mode. Why am I not going for Randy? Well, Randy, I think, to some extent, the threats from Randy weren't threatening at all because of the combat difficulty mods that we've got enabled, until we set it to Merciless, at which point it was only drop pods that killed Jilp. That was still a very winnable scenario we were in, but of course, because of the theme of the playthrough, when Jilp goes, we have to start again. That was very much winnable last series, I think. But, you know, I feel like it's not really on the spirit of things, is it, when Jilp dies, huh? So I think we're going to go with Cassandra Classic, Savage, Commitment Mode. She generally poses a lot more of a progressing difficulty, if that makes sense, because obviously Randy Random has some randomness to him. You might just get hit by drop pods, where Cassandra might actually send a raid after you. Especially as these storytellers also won't know how to deal with the combat extended stuff as well, or at least won't be able to balance that so effectively as they would the base game. So, let's set our seed to Vondle, if anybody really wants to copy this. Let's go for 20%. Now, last time we played in the default Rimworld world, and I thought what could be fun for this time through is every time we start again, as is the core sort of gameplay mechanic of the series, whenever we get a fresh Jilp, we should launch him on a different planet. So we played Rimworld default. We could go for desert planet, dry Arctic, Earth-like, forest, ice-covered. I don't want to go too crazy. I don't really want to go like desert or ice-covered to start off with. Why don't we try, what the hell is ocean world? I guess it's just tiny little land masses, so you'd only be hit by, what, drop pods? In fact, I don't think it affects the AI, whether or not they can get to your base with the land border. Why don't we try, what's dry Arctic? That sounds fun. Or we've got Earth-like planet. Let's see what Earth-like is. I like that Earth-like had actually turned the bar down there, if that makes sense. Let's see what Earth-like is like, but I will just go through each one of these. We'll sort of go through in order next time, but just to start off here, while we get the hang of some of these other mods that we've never seen before, I'd like to plan a bit more of a, maybe forgiving experience isn't the right word, but a bit more of a more recognizable starting scenario. So I'm looking immediately for rivers, and I'm seeing quite a nice looking river over here. So we've got grassland. 30 out of 60 growing days. Average temperature is 12.6 degrees. That's quite cool, all things considered. Have we got any sort of longer growing times near a river? Because that would be a bit more ideal. 40 out of 60 days down there is pretty nice. Shame this island. Oh, you know what? It absolutely does. 40 out of 60 days, agave fruit. It's on the eastern coast, so we would have a sea tile. And we've got a river as well. Savannah. Now, I don't remember the last time I played in Savannah. This could be quite fun. Okay, let's give that a go. And then we will use the prepare carefully points limits as we did last series, because I kind of like the way that works. I think it works pretty goddamn well. Lou, the 79-year-old prostitute, as much as I'm sure you'd love to come along for the party, you are not. So this is Jilp. This is what we're going to be starting with this time. Decent learner, strong constitution. Generic but helpful traits, I think, is probably the right way to look at that. We have a lot of points remaining, though, with this guy. Man, we have a lot of points left over. Probably because I specifically went for a backstory and an adulthood. They don't really give anything. They give sort of mixture of bonuses and gains. I went for background scientist just because, obviously, we wanted the research and spaceship salesman give social, both of which I thought were important. We have a lot of points remaining, like a crazy amount of points. I'm probably not going to spend all of them, because I feel like if I spend all of them, it might be a little bit too easy. Let's go 5 construction. Let's go 5 cooking. Let's go 5 plants. And then I think after that, we'll just dish out some... Oh, maybe a little bit more shooting as well wouldn't hurt, because we are obviously playing combat extended. Let's put a passion in a couple of these, and I'm happy just to say... Maybe a couple of points of medical. Let's leave it there. I think that'll do. He's not an incredibly good character by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, 0 mining, which I'll put a couple of points into, but I won't do too much about that. A couple of points in crafting just to make sure we've got a bow and arrow, but he's crap. I mean, let's be reasonable here. He is terrible by all intents and purposes. We do have the mad skills mod this time around. I have mad skills because a good argument was made in favor of it, basically on Discord and in the YouTube comments, was that we want to make sure these characters are kicking around. It's going to give characters much more of an inherent value if they become more and more skilled as we go on. It's going to make me want to play better. You know, I'm sort of very dismissive about certain characters, like, oh, that person was terrible, they're gone. But if we play for long enough, then I'll go ahead and save this as over at the default Jilp there. If we've got a character for long enough, suddenly our preservation instinct's going to kick in, so we're going to think, well, we spent ages building this guy's skills up, building this guy's abilities up. He's key to the colony. Let's not lose him. And I think also with the difficulty mods as well, it does help balance things out a little bit. Anyway, let's take a look at where we're going to end up and where we're going to die to start off with here. What is that? A sand squid. This is a nice looking map, huh? This is pretty good. All right, so first thing you'll notice if you watched last series is that we're no longer using the Fog of War mod, simply because the Fog of War mod, in my opinion, was good. I liked it. I think it's a really good idea that you could only have vision on certain things. Obviously opens up to a lot of new mechanics. However, it also caused a lot of issues. For example, like I said before, when we wanted to recruit prisoners, well, if we didn't have a camera in the room with the prisoners or a colonist in the room with the prisoners, we couldn't interact with the prisoners. So we had to draft someone, stop them what they were doing, walk them all the way into the prison, click on the colonist or the prisoner that we've got in there, set to recruit or whatever we wanted to do with them, and then move the colonists back to their day-to-day jobs. That type of thing is fairly inconvenient. The biggest downside, and I think we can all agree on this with Combat Extended, was that you couldn't draft animal, or you couldn't do anything but drafted hunts. So the wildlife tab was empty all the time because we didn't know what animals were on the map. They only showed up when we actually had vision on them, which was fairly annoying. That meant that we couldn't do any sort of hunting whatsoever, and obviously made getting meat fairly difficult. Okay, he's immediately trapped in a river. Oh god, I thought he actually was trapped in a river then. Not a great start. And of course, we do have Crypto Sleep, Casket, Sickness, or whatever the hell it was called, to worry about as well. He's not a terrible character, actually, now that I look at this. When you put it like that, it looks a little bit better, but having 0 in many, many stats is not ideal, especially melee. So that means if we're not able to shoot them in time and they get into close quarters, basically Jilp is screwed, right? And of course, he's Jilp number 8, having a nice vomit in the river there, in traditional Jilp style. What is he? What's his Sky Steel? So we saw this in the last series. I'm not sure what mod adds it, but it's essentially a more beautiful type of steel that gives bonuses, specifically beauty bonuses, slightly stronger than steel as well. Now, the first thing I'm looking for is Ancient Dangers, I guess. Well, I wasn't intentionally looking for that, but if that's not an Ancient Danger, this might make a nice little place to live. Especially as we dig it out, right? Because there's shit tons of steel in there. There's compacted machinery. We've got water nearby. Now, ideally, I'd like to live by the river now that I think about it. In fact, living in this area in general might be quite good because we're defended by the sea, naturally, and we're also defended by the river quite significantly as well. So if we live just sort of in this generic area, we've also got Steam Geyser there. We've got lots and lots of agave fruit. Sorry, Geyser, as people keep pulling me up on. I've always heard it pronounced Geyser in the UK. But apparently a lot of people pronounce it Geyser. Anyway, it's one and the same thing. These steam vents for geothermal power is what I'm getting at. We could go for those. Actually, there's just a lot of crops kicking around, huh? So let's go through the interface very quickly before we really dive into the gameplay, because I tend to get on with that very, very quickly. It's going to be more or less the same, right? So we've still got the same hygiene mods. We've still got the same power mods, furniture mods, whatever. Oh, we actually do have new furniture mods, but I'll talk about that more as we go. Work mod is the same. We do have the slightly expanded work builds to make things a little easier. Now, I have removed Pharmacist, because that didn't work too well with the Combat Extended inventory management system. Instead, we've just got the medical tab, which is more of an overview on what our colonists are like right now. So because he has Crypto Sleep, Sickness, we can see that he has lower consciousness, lower moving, lower manipulation. We can also set to self-tend, decide what sort of medicine they get as well. It's a little bit of an easier management system. You can switch between that and animals, prisoners, visitors, etc. We've got standard job list there. The Combat Extended assignment tab, where we give them food and drugs and loadout and whatever. Animals tab, the same. Wildlife tab has actually got things in it this time, because that tab was completely useless when we had Combat Extended. It really didn't serve any purpose at all. Sorry, not Combat Extended, the Fog of War mod. It really served no purpose at all, so I'm glad we've got this one back, because it means we can hunt a lot more effectively. Research tab is also the same. I'm still using Research tab, but we've got some new research that we didn't have last time, like bonus furnitures, that type of thing too. Well, I don't like the way you can pan around that, pan around the game window while you've got that open, huh? Weapons mod, same thing. If you didn't see the last 2 episodes, this was a relatively new installation. So the weapons interface is really great if you've got an additional load of weapon mods enabled, such as, I guess like something like Rimworld might be pretty good in all the various pets they've got, but of course we're using Combat Extended, which changes a lot of the values. So for me, this is very useful to know just how valuable a weapon actually is at a glance without having to do all the maths off the top of your head. Things like DPS, value, damage, range, etc, etc. Melee grenades, apparel as well. There you can see sort of armor a bit better at a glance. So it's a very useful little sub-mod there to have. Obviously, everything else is the same. I think besides that, we've got inventory as well, which is part of the Rimworld Search Agency, I believe, which allows us to check everything that we've got in all stockpiles and just make sure that we've, or just at a glance see what we've got where. Anyway, like I said, I like building in this area. I think this is going to be pretty valuable, and we've, of course, got the river as well. Now, I think for the sewage mod, you do actually need to use the river, specifically the river tiles, rather than the ocean, because the river is moving, it gets rid of waste a bit more effectively, I think is essentially the headcanon behind it. So we're going to build specifically on this side of the mountain, or the rock formation there. So what do we want to build out of? Now, I keep falling into the trap every series with Jilp of going almost exclusively for wood. We're only going to build the starting building out of wood, then I'm immediately going to move over to, I mean, essentially whatever we can get right now. Is there a building that we could live in, maybe just temporarily? Not unless we go for something like this. Hang on, we should check whether or not this is an ancient danger, because this could be a good just starting base. I think we're fine. I actually think we're fine. It does look a little small to be an ancient danger, especially when you consider that, I mean, it stops there apparently, but also there's steel. So, let's give it a go. Please don't be an ancient danger, I will cry. That would be a great sub-mod, by the way, if you're looking for something to really screw people over. Hidden ancient dangers, so you just don't know. So they no longer get that suspicious feeling approaching something. That's, okay, that's not terrible. And it's going to save us a little bit of time during this first day when it comes to setting ourselves up, because this is really the make or break, isn't it? As we found out, the first few days generally tend to be whether or not we live or whether we die. So let's get just enough wood to build ourselves. And then we've, of course, got the seeds mod as well, so we can't just plant crops out of thin air. We do need seeds, which we can reclaim from excess crops. That's something we had an issue with in the last series, is that we generally had a lot more than we really needed. We ended up selling a lot of it, which is obviously useful in its own right. But being able to grind it back down to seeds is always, you know, going to help out a little bit as well. I guess it's kind of a little bit more Stardew Valley in that respect, right? There is actually an item that allows you to make seeds out of plants. I believe we've got access to it already. So there is our starting room. So why don't we go ahead and stick down just a very generic sort of bedroom area for him. I'm going to go a little bit far with this. And I'll just forbid these temporarily. But just as a starting point, I don't think this is a bad idea. Now, one thing I would love to get down as well is a table, so that we don't get war crimes for eating without a table. 1x2, I guess that would do it. It's not ideal, is it? But that's fine. There's not enough people to eat at Jilp's giant dining room table, and that's a sad story. Okay, I don't know why we're mining trees there. Obviously, we don't need to do that anymore, seeing as we've got plenty of trees up here. We've got a lot of agave as well. Is any of it fully grown? 84%, not really. Oh, some is. Okay, cool. Oh, well, I'll have to just check it manually afterwards, I guess. Right, so let's go to his work tab and just make sure this is set up before we do anything else. So, doctor, surgeon, bed rest is all high priority. Same with hall. Those I'll make high priority, even though we're probably never going to use them. Similarly with warden, training, handling. I'm going to actually get rid of a lot of stuff we're not going to use during this early game, and we'll move them on later on. Traps might be very useful during the early game. I think that's, like I've said before, the only time traps are useful, but we will give that a go. Right, hunting needs to be top priority because we can actually hunt this time around. One of the mods I've removed, although I do kind of like it, it does waste a lot of our time, especially when we've only got one character, is the maintenance mod. So you can prevent breakdowns by keeping things repaired, which is obviously good if you've got low resources like we do right now, but it takes up a lot of time because I like having repair as a top priority thing, so that if something does break down, you're immediately on it. It does kind of pose its own problem in that there's a lot more micromanagement with that. They're going to wake up, and if you've got it set up like this, they'll immediately go and repair everything before building anything new, and that's kind of a pain in the ass. That's okay. I'm happy with this just sort of being very generic right now. Let's remove a lot of these. Now, we do want to craft a bow and arrow. Now, that's going to be very, very important during this early game. We don't need to worry about this. So that can be slightly higher priority. Same with research, and we're not going to scan. Butcher, cooking, fine. I might lower these down a little bit. Similarly with repair as well. That's pretty good. So we're prioritizing food. Then if we've got food dealt with, we'll do construction afterwards. Crafting, we just need a bow and arrow. But obviously that doesn't matter being top priority because we're only going to do that once anyway. Speaking of which, let's go production. Let's stick down a crafting spot. So put that one anywhere is fine. Outdoors, really. Let's also, the one thing I want to do as well is obviously just make him work. I'm going to push him a little bit further than I probably should for these first couple of days. It's worked well in the past, and I think I'm going to stick with it right now. But we'll focus on obviously cutting, you know, trees and stuff in the more immediate vicinity. So I'm going to forbid this, forbid this, forbid this. Let's focus on a bed to start off with here. Well, don't want to eat without a table. You've got to bear in mind there's war crimes sometimes. Right, let's go and chop down this stuff outside. Oh, apologies for that. Someone apparently started drilling at 20 to 2 in the morning. Then again, I'm making a YouTube video, so I can't really complain too much. Right, so again, let's work on the bed first. I'm going to forbid these temporarily until we've at least got a bed, because I think that's a bit more important. Then why don't we go to harvest fully grown plants, and then just designate only fully... Oh, man, really? That's slim pickings, huh? I'm going to cancel those, and let's instead go for... Oh, okay, we do want to chop the wood from that one. We can right-click harvest plants in home area. What if we harvest all? So this will designate harvestable plants anyway. Okay, so cancel that. Let's just go for whatever we've got that's capable of producing something in the immediate area. So like I've said, with the mod pack, there are some convenience mods that only affect the game when it's paused. Like I've said, I don't think it's OP if we can do the same thing paused. Like, for example, designate all harvest plants in the home area or designate all blighted plants to be cutted. If we can do that while the game is paused, I don't think that affects the difficulty at all. So I don't mind mods like that one, but things that actually affect things like mood, especially, are mods that I've been a little more wary about adding to the mod pack. Anyway, that's a lot of food. That's going to last a couple of days anyway. Right, and when you're done with these, I'm going to make sure he gets all of these for now. I'm not going to cancel any, even though it's quite a lot. Right, okay, that's good. Thank you. He's going to put a little bit of a roof on his terrible, terrible house. He's got enough for the bed. 20... Oh, God, not at all. Right, okay, let's chop a little bit more wood then. Man, I don't want to go too far out of field, because obviously he hasn't got much more time for work. That's enough food to last us a while, huh? 102 raw food. We don't have to do anything. They can be eaten raw, can't they? I mean, they're agave fruit. Of course they can. That's nuts. What do you mean raw food? So, trees, again, RP acacia seeds. We can't plant acacia trees without these seeds, which is why we're getting them. We should really haul these, because they seem like they could be massively, massively useful. What is that? Saguro cactus seeds. There we go. Cactus, I believe those ones produce the most wood out of everything, right? Sleeping on the floor when you've almost finished your bed. Uh-huh. Just Jilp Vondle things. Okay, let's go and get that finished. Construction botched. Oh, Rimworld, you do make me laugh. Okay, set owner. Jilp, unnecessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. Then he's going to get himself a little bit of water, and then we'll call it there for today on Jilp's adventures. I mean, as in just this in-game day, obviously not for that. So, what do we want to plan out then? Fantastic question. I think power, I underestimate how much we need that early on. I always tend to do this. I think we need power. I think I'm also going to go for a latrine early on as well. So something similar to... Actually, let's go for invisible power conduits. I know that confuses a lot of people when they're like, oh, your windmill's not connected. It is. I'll mention it. I'm sure we'll see it in the episodes as it comes up. The other thing we need is a latrine. So the hygiene mod is one of the biggest parts of this mod pack, as we've seen in last series. So digging something for Jilp to do something in would help out quite a lot, I think. So let's just put it outside his front door, because I can't imagine it's too good having that. Just a latrine pit dug inside your house. Showers as well, sort of cleanliness, prevent him having to run all the way back and forth to the river. I do want to build something a bit more convenient over here, but like I said, we'll wait until we've got stone cutting down a little bit before we work on something like that. Right, how's his mood going? Naked, hungry. I can't do much about the naked yet. Although when we craft bow and arrow, we could maybe... What do we need? 60 fabric, leathery. Okay. And then backpacks are obviously quite useful as well. They let him carry... plus an additional 15 bulk, whatever that is. So we want to make a short bow. We want to make stone arrows. It's just the regular ones, isn't it? So those ones require a great bow. Those require a recurve bow, neither of which we can craft right now. How much do we want to make in terms of arrows? I mean, I think... How much do we make them in? So we make them in quantities of 10. Why don't we just make 5 lots? That seems a fair amount to me. I think that'll do. We could set a do until you've got like 25 or something. That pretty much guarantees it. And then manage it a little more strictly with the loadout. But as far as that goes, I think that's okay. Right, going to go to a stagnant pond there to get a little bit of a drink out of. And then let's start work on dealing with the unhappy nudity, because that's a very, very simple fix, isn't it? Okay, thank you. It's going to haul some seeds on his way back. Good work. All right. The only thing I'm concerned with is that this many seeds is going to take up a shit ton of room in the stockpile. We actually might want to manage what seeds we keep and what seeds we obviously don't want. So let's go and assign him. We're going to make a loadout. We're going to go new loadout. We're going to call that one... bow, or I call it specifically short bow just in case we get any other bows. Then we're going to add a short bow to that and add any ammo for short bow, and we'll say 50. You can carry 50 arrows at once. I think it's okay. Right, going to equip that one. He's going to start making some arrows. How long do these take? I keep calling them ammos rather than arrows. That's so confusing. Right, this takes quite a long time, huh? I might lower that down to just 30, because it's going to waste a lot of his day otherwise, just churning out arrows when really we don't need them. I mean, I imagine 1 arrow is enough to kill something, right? Well, why don't we test it out? He's got it equipped immediately. So we need leathery stuff for an outfit. What have we got kicking around in terms of animals? We've got 2 ostriches. I'm looking for multiple animals of the same type, because that way we're guaranteed to get the same leather. I mean, obviously a rhino seems like a pretty good thing to hunt. There's not much wildlife. There's plenty of ostrich. Let's hunt some ostrich. Let's go for those. And let's try and get rid of this, try and get rid of the naked debuff. Oh, God. I kind of was hoping you wouldn't do it that quickly. Right, run back. We could just let it bleed out. We could... Oh, my God, it healed? No, it was Jilp. Right, okay. Now get another shot. And we can just keep trying this, like running back and forth and sort of luring it around rocks, slowing it down, things like that. Because that's going to, obviously, as it bleeds, it's going to get weaker and weaker, death in an hour anyway. So we don't necessarily need to fight it anymore. And I especially want to conserve our ammo to some extent, because that seems to be kind of a big time sink, making this many arrows. Right, let's go and finish that off. Goodbye. Nice knowing you, Mr. Ostrich. Good. Okay, so what we want to do is probably put down a butcher spot outdoors. Is that a bad idea? Is that a high risk of... No, it's only a risk of food poisoning if you cook near where something is butchered, isn't it? Because obviously it's the cleanliness factor more than anything else. So let's go down butcher spot outdoors. Let's go for a fueled stove. Kind of seems a bit pointless when we could just get 2 more components, build an electric stove, and then we've got to work on this anyway. We could just build a campfire. A campfire is probably actually not a bad starting point either, because it will light things up. So let's go campfire. Put it in the middle of the house. I guess just next to there. That way it'll light the house up, so we'll actually be able to see things. We won't get the darkness debuff, and it will warm the place through, because it is... Oh, I was going to say it's quite cold, but actually it's 30 degrees inside his house, which is not ideal. Okay, we'll put the campfire outside then. Fine, you convinced me. Okay, good. Well done, team. That was pretty good. And he's done for. So let's get that hauled. I imagine I didn't set the stockpile to allow for corpses either. We're already running pretty low on goddamn room, huh? Let's go critical. And let's go corpses... Animal but not insect corpses, if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay. And let's get that hauled immediately. He's going to go wash himself after his glorious battle with the ostrich. The Australians would be proud. Streaming their emus. I know, but they're more or less the same things, right? Okay. He's going to go all the way up to the river rather than the stagnant pond, because today is a celebration, team, because Jilp is back, and also, you know, he successfully slew that ostrich. That's the type of ostrich we really need in our lives, huh? Right, let's also allow all on these arrows and maybe go grab some more. How many's he got left? 4 left. So we're not using too many per ostrich in that case. I'm more than happy to let him. Major break risk. Why? Tired? Go to sleep. You know what? Now's the time we probably don't want to be pushing him too far. Because we've got some very simple things to deal with. So let's just let him do whatever he wants. Go to bed. That's a great idea, team. So butchering these boys as soon as possible would be ideal. I don't know if this will give us enough to make a tribal outfit. But of course I'm going to put tribal wear above this one just to deal with that naked malice. Could make him a knife to use as his secondary sort of melee weapon, but he's so bad at melee, he'd probably only end up killing himself with it. Ostrich Revenge, what a pop-up, man. Rimworld is so good. I always forget about its just like weird little quirks like that. Especially the art. I really don't give the art enough credit whenever we make it in the game, because it's so great every single time. It's always golden. That's 90% of the Rimworld subreddit as well. Right, it's going to pray to his various gods, whatever they are. They can't help you out here now. Nothing can help you out here now, Jilp. And there is a cassowary. I imagine a cassowary and emu would give the same type of... He is sad because that's raw food. It's agave, though. You can eat raw agave, right? Or it's more meant for, like, a survival situation. Like, hey, it's actually got some water in it. I don't know. Let's not worry about hauling urgently. I'm going to put that a bit lower down. I'd rather he starts butchering that type of thing first. Please don't eat the raw ostrich. Okay, 43. So ideally, we kill 1 more ostrich. We're good. What has he found to go and butcher now? Another bird. An emu. The Australians would be proud. That's also got to give, like, bird skin, right? Or whatever the hell it was we needed. That's great. Well, that saved us wasting a few more arrows. I'm happy for him to do that. And then I think we need to start working on the house a little bit, because things are getting... Oh, God, we actually do need to kill 1 more. You're joking. Okay, hunting ostrich. No, not anymore. We want you... I'm going to lower that down a little bit. Let's get to chopping a little bit more wood. so we can build the campfire and the latrine as well. I think they're both fairly important things here. We've got plenty of... Actually, we've got more wood than I thought we did lying around here. He's on a mental breakdown. He's going to food binge. He's going to eat a load of raw meat. That's okay. I'm happy for this, because this will give him catharsis, and then it'll buy us a couple of days of basically, you know, free reign, right? Really pushing him as hard as we want to. That's okay. I'm happy with this to be going down the way it is. Don't eat too much of that, though. That's going to make you very unwell. He's going to get food poisoning, isn't he? 8 raw food, -7. Please don't tell me that stacks. Okay, we're fine. He's already in a pretty decent mood anyway, so the catharsis is going to keep him super, super happy for quite a long time. Jilp, you're tearing me apart. This is a whole day wasted. He's eating without a table as well. Visitor, you do not want to be a part of this. There's some crazy naked man with the world's finest beard eating raw emu off the floor. Incredible. So one thing you might have noticed here is that we've got raw meat rather than raw ostrich meat, raw emu meat. In terms of gameplay, they are identical. They are absolutely no different. But part of something I've tried to do with this mod pack, because I know a lot of people liked playing through our previous mod pack, is I've tried to optimize it quite a lot, because we've got quite a lot of very big game-changing mods. We've got a lot of mods that add a lot of new items. Seeds, for example, is a big one. Combat Extended, multiple different ammo types, which is another thing we've optimized as well. I don't say we, because I worked alongside some people in Discord to really get this down. Shout out to Sydney. We've got... essentially, like I said, a lot of mods that cut down the amount of meat, so all the meat essentially does the same thing, right? Why have raw ostrich and raw emu when raw meat is identical? They all drop the same amount of meats and everything, so it doesn't affect the game balance, it just makes it load a little quicker. Similarly, with the Combat Extended bullets, we have... there's a mod that optimizes that. I think it's literally just called Optimized Combat Extended or Optimized Ammo Types or something like that. It's specifically designed for Combat Extended. It removes all of the unused ammo from loading. It prevents it. So, for those of you with the longer load times who want to play a bigger mod pack, this thing might actually kind of suit you a little bit. And it does seem to load very, very quickly. I've got Rimworld on an SSD, so that might not be a good sort of litmus paper test for it. But it is very good nonetheless in terms of its speed. And it runs really, really well as well. Like the devlog. Why did it do that? I take back everything I said. The devlog... I did check when I was running this mod pack and doing some test playthroughs. It seems to be fine. There's no errors, no glitches, nothing like that. There are some minor lookup issues between like Combat Extended and mods that add other walls. Like it's like, I don't know what these walls are. I don't know how much damage to do to them. But besides that, really nothing to worry about here. We're doing incredibly well in terms of the mod pack. Hey, why are you not building anything? Have I set... oh, let's turn up construction then a little bit. I'd rather he be doing that than working on arrows and garbage like that. Mad Rat, our first enemy. A new rival. Okay, let's move through. I think I've made that twice in a row, huh? That's the same reference. Where is it? This could be miles away. Okay, well, let's not worry about that too much then. Let's cook some meals. I think this is long overdue. Let's do until we've got... so we could do 1 per colonist plus X per colonist. I mean... 2 days worth of food, so they eat, what, 3 meals a day? 2 meals a day? I kind of forget. Either way, if we do 8, if we do 9... it's the lowest common multiple between 3 and 2, besides 6, smart ass. We could just do 6, I guess. Right, pause when satisfied, unpause when we've only got a day of food left. That way it's not just going to be constantly cooking. Right, okay, get to work. This is good. So this is going to prevent him having constant mental breakdowns there. We've got a decent amount of meat from our little bit of hunting as well. Man, I miss being able to hunt. That's a nice little change. Let's set you to attack, and let's take that rat out before it gets out of hand. Oh dear. How many arrows do we have? Where's it going? What is it doing? Okay, we should be okay. Good luck. Jilp, you're upsetting me. Okay, I thought we were going to die to an effective rat bite or something, because when it got within melee range, we were screwed. That thing would have easily outpaced Jilp. Okay, so let's keep going with these meals. That way we're not going to have to worry about raw food, and then I would really love to build some furniture as well. I think that should be on the list. I'm going to butcher the rat. Fine. You know what? Meat is meat at the end of the day, huh? Especially when you're in this desperate situation. So we've got... I mean, we don't need heat. That's irrelevant. Actually, cooling would be something I'd really like to work on as soon as possible. We've got all the components we need for obviously building our wind turbine, our power conduits, and everything nearby. So that shouldn't take too long. Let's get some agave cooked. He's going to do what exactly? Relaxing socially by the campfire. He's actually got a form of recreation. That's pretty nice. And then he's set to anything right now. And then the good few first days, I think, for this Jilp. Not entirely cursed off the get-go. Now, what we want to do is be very careful about the amount of steel, the amount of components we're also getting into the base as well. Although saying that, he does have garbage mining, so it's going to take him days. Yeah, we're going to have to be very, very careful about what we get. So 100 steel, what's that like? Essentially 4 blocks should more or less guarantee that we've got... It's 35 on average, isn't it, when you... from the steel yield. So we're going to need that plus another 80, so we're going to have to mine 2 more after that. I would mine a 6th just for, because he's going to have crappy mining yield, because he is just terrible at mining. What have we got? We've got 4 meals there. Cooling as well would be kind of ideal. You know, having a freezer, having a vent, or some way to stabilize temperatures a little bit more would help out a lot. Just let him build. More than happy for him to have a table. Reach level 6 in construction. Wow, that was very fast. In fact, construction goes up very fast, doesn't it? I've never really noticed that before. Oh, and he's got the passion in it. That's probably more likely. All right. So his wood dresser is good. He's running all the way back to the river. This is why I wanted to build near the river, for hopefully obvious reasons. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Oh, thrombos. Yeah, let's go and hunt those down. Galatros version 2.0. Okay. Gonna make some more wooden arrows here. I want to get rid of unhappy nudity. Let's deal with that next. So he's finished his arrows. Let's go and hunt some more ostrich, because we only need the tiniest little bit more to, well, where is an ostrich? We find one on the map. What is that? Blessed be holy emu, for you have given Jilp your glorious fur. Nope, that's not right. Feathers, skin. What are we making this out of? Bird skin. That's horrible. I imagine a bird skin coat would just be vile, right? Just absolutely disgusting. No storage space. My meat. Brother, my meat. I really did kind of want those, if you don't mind. Okay, let's prioritize butchering. Then, when we've got that, that should be more than enough bird skin. Prioritize crafting. He's going to pray first. He's going to pray that this tribal wear is at least something. Not horribly embarrassing like I assume he is right now. Okay. What will that maddened rat think of him? He's like a savage living out here with no clothes. Unfinished bird skin tribal wear. It's going to take 20 days. I'll say no, you're a savage if you don't wear clothes. I feel like I need to point that out. That's it. Well, that's what Jilp thinks. Jilp is the racist, not me. Right. We are good. You can actually put it on. I'm not gonna stop you. Unhappy nudity is dealt with. Look at this mood. Oh, awful bedroom. What are you talking about? It's filled with meat and arrows and seeds. That's the world's perfect bedroom. I think we're going to leave this one here for today. Hopefully you guys are up for this idea of returning back to the adventures of Jilp. I think this is going to be pretty tricky as well, given the difficulty we're on. I think we're long overdue a raid already. I'm actually very surprised that all they've thrown at us is a mad and mad hunter rat. But of course, the slower we get up on our feet, the weaker the raids are going to be definitely to start off with. So if we try and push for a lot of progress very quickly, I think we're going to get overwhelmed within no time whatsoever. Anyway, thank you for watching. Glad to be back with my good boy Jilp. Let's give a shout out to the insane top tier level patrons who made the series possible in the first place. As I said in last series, if you're a patron, you get a name in the series. A lot of people have already sent them. I'm going to be renaming people immediately. The second they turn up to the colony, whether you live or die is irrelevant. Normally, I wait until they've, you know, earned their stripes a little bit, survived for a couple of days in the colony. But no, the second they turn up on the map, I'm going down the list naming them. So if you want someone, let me know. It's going to be first come, first serve. Thank you to Alpha Scuff, Asuna Kirito, Atmosis, Average Gamer 419, Baniel, Sidini, Conspire T, Crazy Pack, Crosis, Escape, Eric B, Facundo Vasquez, Harik, Haydog, Jimbo, Josh Lendine Tesla, Justin Wallace, Caden Carter, Michael Mullen, Necrofilm, Palvis Presley, Surfall the Swede, Tom Terror 18, Vacuous Bacchus, and Zazzy7011. Thank you all for your support, the Insane Tier Loves on Patreon. Thank you for making the channel possible in the first place, and I hope you guys like the remastered Adventures of Jilp. He sure is, with his fancy bird skin coat. That's just horrible. I feel just goddamn terrible, Jilp, you monster. Thank you as well to Asero, Adam Person, Adam Wilson, Betsamus Max, Sudini, Chris, David Van Diepen, Don, Don22 and 7, Fraser Brennan, Gabriel Faulkner, Gabriel Van Ders, Gaz, GDWK Run, Genji Zerka, Gray, Haji Damar, Hancock, Harry McGowan, Icy the Great, Israel, Jay Lara, James Barnes, Johan DeVries, John Holiday, Jordan Campbell, Joseph Beard, Justin Plock, Llewellyn Thomas, Matthew, Nathan Flores, Nathaniel Lindbergh, Nick, Noah Gallimore, Pan Samu, Panther Pearl, Smirtworm, The Insane Pickle, Will Wade, Wolfie, Zico, and the Twitch subscribers as well. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping it all going. Alright, so for those of you who wanted a more technical breakdown of what's going on here, the differences between this pack and the other pack, and also a brief guide on how to install this, I will go over that very, very quickly. So first things first then, this is the load order, as you can see. There is a better way to do this, and I'll talk about that in a second. The mod list is more or less very similar. I've got certain mods that optimize things due to suggestions from Discord, which I think are a good idea. They don't affect the gameplay, they don't remove anything, they just simplify certain things down. So, or they remove unused things, is probably the right way to say it. So in terms of load time, in terms of optimization, this is probably the most optimized, larger mod pack that we've ever played, because it doesn't add anything ridiculous. It does make a lot of changes to the way, you know, certain game core mechanics, so movement, carrying things, hauling things, harvesting, obviously combat as well. But besides that, it doesn't add a huge amount of extra stuff. So obviously we haven't got any nuclear fusion power plants or any massive industrial deep drills or any nonsense like that this time around, or any new races or anything like that. So in terms of how you would go about getting this model list set up, First things first, you need to subscribe to the Modpack collection below, which is available on Steam as of right now. We'll be looking at that in a second just to see the differences between this pack and the last pack. Then to load this up, there'll be another file below in the description on Mediafire or wherever the hell I upload it, which is basically just an XML file telling Rimworld what order to load mods in. All you need is the Rimworld core. Obviously, that's the core of Rimworld, what the game runs from, all the game's core files. Then you also need the Mod Manager enables. You won't have any active mods, naturally. You'll just have core and then Mod Manager. Then your mod screen will look like this. Obviously, this isn't the default Rimworld mod screen. This is also the dev mode, so don't worry about that there at the top. What you then want to do is click on this button here, and then following the install instructions available in the description. I'm not going to go through it all now. If you have any problems with this, come over to Discord. We'll try and help you where we can. Basically, you want to drop this in your LocalLow / Ludeon Studios / Rimworld / Mod Manager folder or ModList or something like that. Again, the full detailed information guide will be below on how to actually set this up. You simply press this button and select Rimworld Series 2. And what that will do is that will load all the mods in the right order and enable them as they appear in the series. Now, the reason I've got the dev mode enabled is just to open up the debug log very quickly here. So just to prove that, you know, it's running fine. There are no major errors. There are one or two things, but it's really nothing to work about. So, like, old mod file versions. So, battle.xml is deprecated. That's probably due to the cleaning area mod, which hasn't been updated for 1.0, but works perfectly. The developer basically said, I can't be bothered to update it, but it still works, which is, you know, fair enough. Passing doubles is it's really not a big deal there. And, there's a seed missing for a tree. That's it. Those are the only major issues with this mod pack. Besides that, that's all just fixed when you load the game up, so you've really got nothing to worry about in terms of gameplay. Some things might not be in the perfect order. Some things might be a little bit out of the order they should be in. Don't worry about it too much. I've come across no issues in my testing, and of course the dev console is basically the best place to go to actually test things out to see whether or not it's going to blow up. So, let's dive on over to Steam a second and take a quick look at the difference between this and the previous mod pack. So what I'm actually looking at here in Steam, if you look up here, we've got, this is Rimworld Prepare to Die edition. This was the mod pack from last series, and you can see new mods that we've got that we didn't have in the last one, and I'll go over what has been removed. So we've got combat extended patch for alpha animals, so we don't get Galatros event 2.0, which wiped out almost our entire colony. That should be solved this time around because we have that. Now, it's not in this collection. I am subscribed to that, but this is viewing the actual collection itself, and obviously we didn't have that in that collection. Icons for, this is just a quality of life thing, actually gives each separate prosthetic its own little item. So a prosthetic leg will look like a prosthetic leg in a box, essentially, or it put a little label on the box showing it's a leg. Very, very useful. I thought that was just a nice little extra mod to get. But as you can see, a lot of the stuff is the same. We've got generic CE ammo. So this is a fairly large one that makes it so that one of the biggest issues I had last series was not understanding the ammo. Like, I don't know what, 7.62 times 43mm. I don't know what type of gun that you would use that in, short of looking at the gun. What this does is it renames it to something like revolver ammo armor piercing, rather than .44 blah 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 blah. You know, it just gives it a very generic name associated with the weapon. So instead of it being called, you know, 12 gauge butt shot, it would just be called shotgun ammo. So for someone like me, who's not American, that's a lot easier to understand. We've got the Grand Rivers mod. I do like the Grand Rivers mod. It makes rivers much larger and take up a lot more of the map. There are obviously pros and cons to that. I thought it was just quite a nice mod to throw in. Jilp Vondle. So this is, as I said in the start of the episode, or, as I said at the start of the episode, it is a collection just for quickly loading into your own Jilp Vondle if you don't want to use Prepare carefully, but sets up the scenario as I'm playing it. We've got Level Up. Level Up, we did actually add to the last series, but at the end, so it never made it into the collection. Just gives a little message in the top left-hand corner whenever a pawn levels up, and we actually saw that during that episode. Mad Skills prevent skills decaying. This I was not really sure about, because it is fairly powerful, but as I said in the episode, it gives us more reason to keep pawns alive. Or if we've got a particularly skilled one, to prioritize our pawns a little bit better. So Jilp is not always going to be on the front line if he builds his skills up that much. He'll be put to the back. And obviously it's more devastating losing certain pawns if their skills are going to be particularly high. So I thought that was an okay mod. I haven't added too many mods that are... This is an abject improvement to the gameplay, right? You can't argue with the fact that this is only a bonus. It isn't balanced. It gives you a distinct advantage over not having it installed. However, given the amount of other mods we've got that have difficulty associated with it, I thought that was acceptable. Medical tab rather than pharmacist. So pharmacist is gone because that is a way of micromanaging when certain medicine is used at certain times. That was causing a lot of conflicts with Combat Extended, or at least it was for us in the last series. I don't know whether a different load order or so there's a compatibility patch. I also don't particularly like pharmacist. I like them just basically, hey, use whatever medicine we've got always on everybody to the highest quality, because I want people to live, funnily enough. So I've removed that just to alleviate a little bit of the micromanagement side of things, replaced it with the medical tab mod, which essentially just gives you, as we saw in the episode, a glance at what they currently look like. We've got a compatibility patch for Megafauna as well. I missed a lot of these the first time I tried it because there is an official list of compatibility patches. Some have been updated by people who, so you see like Spino makes Megafauna, but this was a third-party compatibility patch, which is probably why I missed it. So that means that, again, we won't get the Galatros version 2.0 and won't get wiped out. Optimization CE ammo is pretty important, and this is what I was talking about with the mod pack being probably the most effective and efficient mod pack we've got so far. So for those of you running on lower end PCs or have long load times, this might be, it might work pretty well for you. So what Optimization CE ammo does, it removes all ammo types not used by guns in game. It'll check all the ammo, and then it'll say, hey, Rimworld, don't ever bother loading these again because they can't be fired out of any guns in the game ever. So that's pretty good for cutting out a lot of crap, because apparently Combat Extended has a lot of crappy ammo that you can craft, or you can't even craft in some situations. Just got a lot of extra stuff that I guess was planned and scrapped from the final release that it removes so that you don't waste time loading. Similarly, Optimization Meat is kind of in the same vein. It's by the same person, they're Alchemist. What this one does is all meat in Rimworld does the same thing. No one meat is better than another. As long as it's from an animal, it doesn't affect insect meat or anything like that. You still get the debuff from that. But it just makes it so that if it is a regular old animal meat, so meat from a cow is the same as meat from a rhino in Rimworld as far as it's concerned. The rhino might give you a little bit more, or a bigger creature will give you more. Obviously, a rat will give you less. Doesn't affect anything like that. It just makes it all called raw meat. That prevents the game loading in hundreds of different types of raw meat, because in the base game it's raw thrombo meat, raw cow meat, raw sheep meat, raw rat meat, etc, etc. This just said, hey, don't bother loading all of that, just load meat and raw meat, and that's it. So that's a very, very useful mod. I think that's kind of cool. It does kind of take away, I guess, a little bit of immersion, but for what cost? Like 4 minutes of load time? Nah, I'm good. That is more or less everything. So one of the bigger ones, let's take a look down here a little bit more. Yeah, we're probably about halfway through. One of the more bigger mods that we've got enabled right now is the Seeds Bleeds mod. So what this will do is whenever you harvest a crop, it will produce a seed. If you want to plant another crop, you have to have that seed in the first place. So we can't just magic up a bunch of shit and plant a bunch of crops that we don't have the seeds for. In fact, I've not really come across this yet in the game, because obviously we haven't planted any crops yet. I'm not sure how this affects gameplay in terms of planting crops. Do we have to buy seeds from traders? I'd assume so. But what it also means is, like last series, we can't just have a massive excess of food and then sell it, or rely on something like that. It does add a lot more difficulty to that early game, and I thought it would be kind of fun to test out for once. Stockpile stack limit, very straightforward. Last episode, or last series, I think it was the last episode specifically, but last series, we had different medical stockpiles, so one by medical bed and one by the prisoner medical bed, right? Or one by the prisoner beds. This prevents you from just having 75 medicine in that stock. You can say, hey, just put 3 there instead. Let's put a hard limit on the amount of things that are allowed inside a particular stockpile, which I thought was quite useful. Vanilla Furniture Expanded and Medical Module are both pretty recent. They're both on the front page of Rimworld pretty much all the time. They are pretty simple mods that just expand on the original art style and fill in certain gaps. So, for example, you can build a very crude sort of hospital bed that's better than a regular bed, but not nearly as good as a hospital bed. It just fills in a little bit of the missing furniture. It's not high-end, it's not end-game, it's quite well-balanced. So I quite like those ones. Veteran Colonist. This is a cool mod that I didn't really want to spoil, but essentially what this allows you to do is import characters from other save games that will appear during raids, that will appear during things like drop pods or colonists chased to your, or a visitor chased to your base by, you know, enemies or whatever. Those can be characters from your other save games. So I figured for the other characters who are left behind, Setsuko, Erika, and Grump, and all those others, we can import them in. Or we might have a chance of getting them again. They might turn up as raiders, or they might drop in drop pods to Jilp number 8. They missed him that badly. They chased him down. We've got weapon stats. Of course, we did have that in last series for the past few episodes very briefly, so it never made it into this mod pack, but it is in the current one. It's just very good, isn't it? Lets you DPS and stuff. Lets us sort of work out what the hell's going on in Combat Extended, a bit of a glance. Dire raids. Bigger, harder raids towards the end game. It's a unique event. It doesn't make regular raids harder. It adds a whole new different type of raid where lots of enemies will turn up and it'll be big and threatening, but obviously doesn't happen until the late game. Rational Romance. This is one of the only other mod, along with Mad Skills, I would say, that adds an objective, easier aspect to a mechanic. So Rational Romance makes it so that if a guy is or rebuffed, so as we saw in last series, who was it? Was it Charles? Was constantly being rebuffed by every female in the colony. If he's rebuffed, he's going to think, oh, that was a bit of a put down. I think I'll wait a little while before trying that again. Makes him rational. It's pretty useful. I've gone with that one. So just to prevent stuff like that in the future, because it doesn't make any goddamn sense in Rimworld where they'll try, rebuffed times 47. You think they'd just give up at that stage, huh? So let's go to the current collection we've got. So let's go back a little bit here, and hopefully we can just go straight back to my other collection list. The Steam collection management system is garbage, by the way. And then we go Prepare to Die Season 2, and then we'll see what we've got in here that the other mod list didn't have. So I guess I could just scroll through and point them out. So, of course, we've got the bionic icons there. Oh, no, what we've removed. That's what I wanted to check. How could I point that out very quickly? I'm just trying to think without having to subscribe to the one. What I'll do then is I'll go back to the other mod pack. I'm just going to have to remember off the top of my head. I'll note them as we go through. So, the big one is obviously Fog of War. I talked about that in the episode. It is good. I think it adds a lot of tension. It's a very fun mod and does make a lot of sense. However, it prevents hunting. If there was an option to allow hunting animals on the map, or at least like I said in the last episode, if you saw an animal on the map and it just adds it to the wildlife tab, I think that'd be very useful unless it dies, at which point it would obviously remove it, huh? Oh, you know what? This is how we can check. We'll just scroll through and see if we're going to subscribe to it or not. Defensive positions. Actung essentially does the same thing. Defensive positions is also fairly useless because it uses the numpad. People asked why I never use this during the series. Numpad is my scene transition button. So, for example, if I press numpad 0, which is the defensive positions button, it takes us over to our end screen. So, to prevent, I just straight up didn't use it because it affected with too much of my recording setup. Actung does the same thing anyway. The only reason I'd use that is to get people into lines quicker, but like I said, Actung does essentially that anyway. Fluffy breakdowns, I talked about this in the series, in the episode. Removes the, so the breakdown replaces random breakdowns with maintenance requirement. I thought it used up too much time for the not much benefit. I would rather spend a couple more components to combat the occasional breakdowns that you get in Rimworld, rather than spend, maybe our only good constructor's entire schedule running around fixing every goddamn machine in the colony. So I've removed that one. Mechanoids Extraordinaire doesn't have a compatibility patch that I could find with Combat Extended. I might be wrong on that one, didn't look too hard, but I removed them. Similarly with more Mechanoids, I've been told that the Mechanoids in Combat Extended present a big enough threat anyway that they're a bit pointless. That's the whole reason I added these, to add a bit of variation, a little bit of more difficult creatures, like in the more Mechanoids mod, they add the mammoths, which are those huge siege centipedes, essentially. We don't really need it. Apparently the centipedes in the base game with Combat Extended are nuts anyway, so I've removed that. Pharmacist, like I said before, removed it and replaced it with the medical tab. Real Fog of War, again, that one's gone too. We've got Where's My Weapon? Combat Extended does it. They'll automatically go and re-equip their weapon. So what this does is in the base game, if your character is downed and they drop the weapon on the floor and then you pick the weapon, you'll just take it back to the stockpile unless you manually re-equip it. This mod is already covered by Combat Extended, so it was just blowing up the loading screen. Similarly, Combat Extended shields, that just caused... we're never going to use the shields. I'm not going to use the shield. Apparently it's something to do with Mass Effect there. I've never noticed that before. What the hell is that? The shield actually causes pain in the arse. I'm sure they're good if you apply them properly. It's more loading that I didn't really want, so we got rid of that one. And then we've got Progress Renderer. I kind of stopped using that mod because it kept interrupting the episode when it popped up saying, hey, rendering progress. Especially during the early adventures of Jilp. It's irrelevant anyway because... we're going to save 15 PNGs of progress under, and then he's going to die, and then we're just going to start again anyway. Figured there was no point in that. Although it's a good idea, I didn't really bother doing with that one. So the new workshop file is this one, linked below, as I've said before. Prepare to Die Season 2. I'll give it some good graphics and whatnot, and actually give it a description. But that is it. That's all you need. So, that should be it, I think. I don't think I've forgotten anything. No, we're good. Enjoy.